Guys, have you ever seen this kind of error where your Kafka consumers are rejoining? Then this video must help you. So before we go to the actual permanent statement, let's talk about the normal scenario. Producer produces a message, it goes to the broker, and broker it pushes the message to the Kafka consumers. Now Kafka consumers, it will consume the message and then it process the message. That processing might take some times, or sometimes it doesn't take much time. So if it doesn't take much time, or if it process the message very quickly, then there is no consumer lag. It keeps on consuming the message unless and until there is a lag. There is no issues. Now there are some behaviors in consumer what we have seen in practical use cases where the consumer consume the message and then it takes a lot of time or some time where there is a timeout happens. Immediately the consumers are getting reassigned or rejoining happens. So how to fix that issue? This is real life scenarios and it has happened a lot of times in production, right? So to discuss it, I have complete setup in my local system. We'll go over each and every step. Please stay in this video and we'll go to the code and everything. All right, so how to basically fix the consumer rebalancing? Maybe because of it's running for a long time, or there are some settings which I'll mention in this video. Now we'll go through the video and then you can understand each and every step. All right, to start the coding, what I have done using the Docker, because we need both consumer and producer. For that we need the Kafka. Now the best way to get the Kafka is using consumer the Docker Compose. Now I have explained this in my previous videos. What you can do, you can download this Docker desktop. In Docker desktop, what you will do, okay, once you are done with this, right, Docker desktop, you can just copy this right in your current directory. So you can see here, it is here, right? You just paste this file, and what you can do, we can go to the terminal and we can run some few of the commands to make sure that the Docker image. So this is the Docker. These are two Docker images, right? Zookeeper and the Kafka. So these images, what we'll do, we'll run this so that it will be installed and it will be there as a container. So if you want to see the container, you can come over here and you can see the container here, images here, right? So these two images I'm talking about, these two images we'll be using, and once it is downloaded, and you can go to the container and you can see the our the long process. You can see here the long process. So the container is already running, right? So you can see here it's running. So that's how it will work. So let me go to the terminal. What you can do, so Docker ps, I think it's already running in my system. Yeah, so to run this the Docker, this compose file, what you can do, you just write Docker compose -f, then the file name is the compose.yml, and just make it up. All right, so you just hit enter because since it is already running, right? I'll not do that, but I'm hoping that it will be doing it. So once you are done with that, it will be running. Or there is one more way, we have to install the plugin in IntelliJ, and in the plugin also you can run it. So either way is fine, but I like this terminal approach, but you can take your decision. Alright, so let's go to the dependencies first. So we need Kafka dependency. So this Kafka dependency we need, that's all, nothing else is required, because this is more than enough. But if you want to expose some REST client, so you need web starter, right? And on top of it, I'm using Spring Boot, and this is the version I'm right now using, Spring Boot 3x. If you want to do it with the Spring Boot 4, that's also is fine. Let's go to the controller once. So just to make this video very short, I have come up with all these classes. I think this is the very basic things, right? We'll have a REST controller, and this REST controller will have a post mapping. This post mapping will be basically publishing the message, and this is one service I have created for Kafka publisher, right? If I go inside this, you will see this method, which is very simple. So what I'm doing, I have configurations. If I go to configurations, as you know, right, for publishing a message we need Kafka template. So Kafka template, we have to create one bean. So this bean will be using in everywhere to publish the messages. Now this bean requires few things like producer factory. This producer factory will be we're just defining over here. So these are the configs. Now if you go to our Docker Compose file, you will see that we have this host name. This is the zookeeper, right? So this is a server, bootstrap server. So you can see here, if I come over here and I am running in my local host, you can see, and this is my topic name. This topic has two partitions. You can see here two it's written, and there is one replication factor. I hope you know about all these things, partition, replication factors, right? And you can see here, this is the port it's running, the zookeeper, right? So the bootstrap server is localhost with this ports, right? Now again, let's go to the configuration once again. So you can see here the localhost, and this is the port. So this is my bootstrap server, and I'm using the JSON because I'm sending the object. Now for that JSON serializer, and in the consumer side we'll be doing the deserialization. So these two are required. So I'm putting that, and my configuration is ready. My Kafka template is ready. Now with this bean, I'll be publishing the data into the Kafka. Yeah, so you can see here, this is my controller. If I go here quickly, so this is I am auto-airing, and this is the qualifier, which the bean name we have created. And with this, we are sending the messages. So this is one of the method where you can send the message and the topic name. So if you go inside this is computable feature, right? You can see here, this is the topic name and this is the data, and this is the nature is a computable feature. So we can read over here the computable feature, right? So let's go back once again here. So this return type is a computable feature, and we know it's a result type, right? It's a string object, and we are just going through it, and once it is complete we are just publishing it. All right, let's go to the consumer ones. So this is the consumer. Again, with the interest of time, I created my consumer, everything ready, so that I can finish this video within 15 minutes. And it's already giving this error, right? Now we'll go over the error once again, but let's go over the configuration first. So first build.gradle. So you will see that the same, we need Kafka, Spring Kafka. Actually we don't need this web dependency, we can delete it because we don't have any APIs. It just it's consuming the message, right? Okay, so we'll go to the consumer ones, and you can see here I am consuming from the same bootstrap, and this is the deserializer because my deserializer key is a string type and it's an object, value object, right? So we have to deserialize the JSON. So this is a JSON deserializer, I'm using it. Alright, and this is the trust package. This is required, and if you don't want to mention anything, then give star also, that's fine. You can give star also, that's fine. But this is what recommended by the programming languages. Alright, so this is the place where I'm keeping my message data, and if you see here, both the sides, the contract is the same. I'm sending the message data. So you can see, let's go to the controller ones. So this is the message data I'm sending, right? This is the message data I'm sending. This is our producer. If I go to consumer, this is my consumer, and the same thing I mentioned over here. So this is my message data, which I'm consuming. All right. So this is my consumer, the beans. These two you have to do it. Now if I go to the consumer, I hope you know about this Kafka listener. This Kafka listener, there are quite a few things you can do it. So if I go inside Kafka listener, there are quite a few things out there. Like we can send the factory also, container factory. So if you see here just now, there is now nothing but our container factory. So you can send this container factory also in our Kafka listener. So what I mean actually, if I go here and then write container factory, I can give that. So whatever the bean we have created, we can give that, but right now it's not required, right? So this is the bean we are creating, so we can pass it as well. There are a lot of things we can do. There is a concurrency also, because if I have more partitions, we can do concurrency can dynamically increase like 2 3 based on number of partitions. And as you know that our topic has two partitions, right? So how it has two partitions, because if I go to consumer and I have mentioned as 2 here, right? Okay, let's delete all these things because it is not required right now. Maybe in another video I can explain more, but right now I hope you understand about the Kafka listener. So this is the place where all the message will fall and it will start consuming. And so let's say if I just consume the message, and if you see here, this method is not doing anything, just it has a sleep of, let's say, around 6 minutes. All right, so now why 6 minutes? Because I'll tell you, the answer is here in the error itself, right? All right, the reason why is it is 6 minutes, because you can see here, this is the error it's giving right now, max.poll.interval.ms. So it is saying that max.poll.vs, the value it's exceeding. So if you take this, right, and when this service starts up, if I search for this, you can see here this is around 5 minutes if I'm not wrong, right? So that's the reason. So we have to tweak all these values. Okay, so when the consumer comes up, Spring Kafka, it has default values. So these default values you have to override, right? So if I show you practically, so let's say I'm pushing some of the messages, right? Let's say this is the body, and let's say if I give 2, then immediately it will start processing 3 and then 4, right? So you'll see that this guy will start processing. It's rewriting actually. That's okay. We can go to this tool. Okay, if you don't know about this tool, this is Offset Explorer. You can download from internet. It's very nice and handy tool. And let's refresh this once. Okay, so here what we can do, we can set up our bootstrap server here, right? So you can see here localhost 9092, right? And you can see the broker, topics, and consumer. Right now I am interested on my topic. So this is my topic, right? So this topic, if you see the data, let's play this. So you get the lot of data we have published, right? So these are the unique names, fields, IDs, and everything. So you can see here the consumer. You can see here the consumer lag. So there is a lag is there. You can see here 4 consumer lag. So that's the reason it's not performing well. Or you can see here, right? It didn't commit the offsets. So what we'll do, we'll make some tweaks so that the consumer lag, it will not fall and it will not do the rebalancing, right? So let's stop our service once and then we'll do the rest of the coding. To fix the issue, what we can do here, we'll just put our property. So this property, it will make sure that so whatever the timings we have given over here, the 6.6 minutes, it's more than that. So you can see here, and let's rerun this and we'll re-verify. Okay, so it started consuming now. You can see here, and let's verify this. You can see here this value is now 91, whatever the value we have mentioned, right? Now there is one more problem here, by the way, but let it keep the issue. So it's processing now, which is really good. But sometimes what will happen, even though it's processing, it's unable. Let's say if I don't mention this, right? So the consumer will reconnect, but the same message will keep on reading again and again. So what we have to do for that, we have to manually acknowledge that, right? So what I mean, if I go to consumer, you can see here, this is our consumer factory. In the consumer factory, right now we are not giving any manual commit. So let's uncomment this, right? And what we'll do, instead of the Kafka doing the auto commit, we'll make sure that we are committing the message of our own. acknowledgement. You can do acknowledgement, and just to make sure that after this guy it finishes its work, you can just acknowledge, right? So this is one way of doing it. Or what you can do before processing, let's say in your case or in some scenarios, right, you can just acknowledge the message, just acknowledgement, so the offset commit has been done, this means, right? And then you can start processing, right? Or you can store the, so once you do the offset commit, you can store the message and then you can start processing. So if in case anything fails, you can retry from there, right? So this is how we can solve the puzzle. There are a few more things are there which we can do. So if I go here, so there is a session timeout is also there. So if by doing this also, if there is some issues, what do you have to do? We have to look for the session timeout. So if I scroll down here, these are the configurations which you have to take care. So if I scroll up a little bit more, there should be something called max.poll. This is what we have done. Yeah, this is fine. There should be something called session. So this is session timeout. So let's say with this, if it doesn't fix that, maybe you can increase the session timeout. And there is a heart rate also, because the pool. So how it works actually, the broker, it calls the pool, which is a different thread. So when I say about thread, so this runs in a consumer thread, right? So, and we are doing the manual acknowledgement, and also we are increasing the timeouts. Now there is one more thread which broker it calls, right, by using the pool. So that is nothing but for the heart rate. So sometimes you might get some errors, right, which is, I mean, we can ignore that. But to solve that issue, what we have to do, we have to increase the heart rate also, and then we have to increase the session timeout as well for that. So this is the session timeout, and there is something called, I think, heartbeat interval. Yeah, this also you can increase in case if you're facing those issues, right? Alright, I just paused my video. Now if you can see here, right, it's working fine. You can see here this message. So it's consuming. You can see here 6.6 minutes and break ends, which what it means actually. If I go to the code, so this is the message it's printing. So now after this sleep for almost like 6.6 minutes, it's working fine, right? So let's go to our offset once and then refresh, because we want to see this lag should be. So you can see here, right, this is my broker. Let's disconnect it once. Alright, so here also I can see there is still lag is there, and if I go to my consumer, I can still see it's still processing some of the messages. Okay, let it continue, and I will end this video here. But again, this is the video on the long processing consumer. There are a lot of setups we can do to decrease the consumer lagging. Let's say for example, I can, so instead of consuming only one message, we can make it a batch as well, so that the lag, instead of consuming one message at a time, we can consume 4 messages, and we can do processing for all 4, right? So we can improve the performance like that. All right, thank you guys for joining. Thank you.